Over the past few weeks, there's been a lot going on in the Fallout 4 modding scene. Several things were posted, things you could actually play right now but are work in progress, and other trailers or teasers that you're going to get excited over. In this video, I'm going to be discussing and kind of giving you a roundup of some of the most exciting and interesting things that we did see over the past few weeks, but of course providing links to everything down below if you'd like to try them out for yourself. With all that being said, if you guys do enjoy, you can leave a like or subscribe to keep up to date with some of these work in progress mods, or even see them once they actually do get released. But otherwise, we have a very interesting update around Fallout Miami, as we can now get somewhat of a look at a playable version of Fallout Miami. So a little bit of backstory and context as to what exactly you're seeing in the background right now. This is an early version of the mod that you can download right now, but it is not indicative of the final version of the mod. So scroll all the way back a couple of years ago, I was making a few videos on Fallout Miami, and at the time, Mika999, the person that created this world space, was posting most of the updates. Since then, revisions were made, the team did grow, and Mika, the original creator, kind of took a step back from the project. So what we're seeing here in this new world space is one of the original versions of the mod. It seems like some of this was carried over. Of course, some of the assets that are custom and created for this will also be carried over, but overall, you're not going to see something that is identical to what I'm showing you in the background when you finally do get Fallout Miami. So even though this is technically Fallout Miami, think of it almost as the legacy build maintained by the original creator and separate from the larger mod, although obviously there's a lot of overlap. And to be clear here, this is really just a world space. There's not any quests or really anything to do outside of just the exploration of the world, which is really well done. It just looks awesome. And this is without a doubt a really good way to get hyped for the full release of the mod later on. Which, speaking of, there hasn't been a ton of big news around Fallout Miami. It seems like they're actually switching to more intermittent updates around the mod, so larger updates less often. And although they've been quiet for a few months now, progress certainly is continuing. On their Twitch and YouTube, they've been live streaming development of this pretty regularly, so you can follow that if you want to see what's going on in real time. Any further, I will have links to all of their social media down below, including their Discord, where you could stay pretty much right up to date with what's happening. As far as future plans for this Fallout Miami world space, Mika actually mentions how he may do some things to spice it up or make it a bit more interesting in the future, where even he describes it as a good way to actually just hold yourself over until Fallout Miami itself is actually complete. But speaking of large-scale mods coming to Fallout 4, we also do have a teaser from Fallout 4 The Capital Wasteland project. This of course being the mod that you probably know as Fallout 3 being recreated in Fallout 4, or just the Fallout 3 Remake Mod. And in effect, what it seems like they did was actually remake the Fallout 3 intro using their modernized assets. So it's not like this was shot all in-game, it's using the in-game assets, but actually shot in a 3D modeling program, Blender, which is honestly probably pretty similar to what Bethesda did originally. Regardless, this looks awesome. It's pretty spot on as far as how accurate or true to form it is to the OG version, but of course here, side by side, you could really see some of the detail upgrades that are being brought by the remake of this mod compared to the original one. I will have a full link to that down below. I'm not going to play it in its raw form here because the music and copyright. This is another one of those large-scale modding projects that has been pretty active. On their Discord, you could actually find teaser images of some of the up-and-coming content with this, a lot of stuff that'll probably bring you back to Fallout 3, and all around it looks like they're making awesome progress, and this intro is just more indication of that. And I actually would say a really good way to compare the new progress they've made as far as the world space goes, because you could pretty easily see a side by side. But outside of that, taking a break from some of the large-scale overhaul mods, we have some other interesting content on the way. Notably, one mod recently teased by Nero, a very well-known mod author, is Cross Wasteland Ronin. This is a really cool mod that's going to have several things. Naturally, one of the first and most prominent is the new armor. It's going to be the armor set itself, a helmet, a mask, as well as an under armor that you can achieve a look pretty similar to this. The design is described as some more true to form samurai style armor, but then also held together with wasteland scraps and some other modern things. And maybe it's really good screenshots, but I think just in general, this armor looks awesome. Like one of the coolest and most interesting armors we've seen in this game in a long while. Even outside of that though, there also is going to be new NPCs added in with this. These are going to be high-level Ronin ghouls. They're basically just going to spawn in seemingly like some of the other ghouls, but of course they previously would have been samurai and thus will probably be a bit tougher, and they'll be featuring this new armor. There's no ETA and a release date. It seems like the mod is still currently being worked on, but taking it all together, it looks really freaking good. You can see some of the various customization and color change options. With many of Nero's mods, you have a lot of versatility here. You can change the colors quite profoundly or even add other things. And overall, this is definitely one I'm going to be looking forward to, and I think you probably should too. Now we have a new work in progress mod by Trophy Hunter, and it's a relatively simple one, but also a really cool looking one and an extremely high quality model. So in essence, it seems like it'll boil down to a new knife mod in Fallout 4. But as you can see, it's going to have a really cool design, and just from some of these glamour shots and even from the video, you can just tell how high detail this is. Trophy Hunter has definitely done a lot of really high detail stuff in the past, often having the option to download very large file sizes to get those details if you want them. There's not a ton more for me to say. It looks awesome. It's definitely going to be a very unique and interesting piece in game, and it'll probably make one of your special characters feel just a little bit extra special with this cool knife. So this one's a bit more work in progress, but we do have a work in progress 12.7mm SMG. This of course iconically being from some of the previous Fallouts, and just in general, I've always thought this was one of the coolest looking guns in some of the older Fallouts. There's been a couple attempts at actually bringing this into Fallout 4 over the years now, but I feel like nothing has really gotten me as excited as this one, mainly just because it looks good. We only have 2 very work in progress pictures to go off of, but it's definitely one of those mods that I'm excited to follow the progress of and hopefully see an eventual release. Then we do have another update on Peace. So Peace in and of itself, I've shown you on this channel a couple times now. It stands for the Project Extend and Change Everything, so kind of vague, but more or less just adding additional things into Fallout 4 in various categories. It's a sister mod to the Wars mod that's adding in a ton of new weapons into the game, but even further, what we're actually seeing here is the power armor load bearing equipment. Overall, Peace is going to change how carrying things work, so if you're not carrying a backpack or some other kind of pouches on you, you won't be able to carry a lot. In other words, your base carry weight will probably be a lot lower, and you'll have to enhance it with other things, such as the load bearing equipment you're seeing in the background. Looking at some of these images of the cargo carrier, as it's being called, just looks awesome. You can see some of the various customization options, but even further, as it is actually in a not used power armor frame, or as you're entering the power armor frame, which is a really nice touch and attention to detail. This is one of those mods that I'm really looking forward to. I love mods like this that actually change a fundamental part of the game, and even though it may seem relatively minor at first, just affecting carry weight, no, that's a pretty big deal. It'll transform or change an entire playthrough, and I wish we had more mods like this for Fallout 4, making me extra excited for this one. And last but not least, we do have the MPGL-18. So this is actually fictional. There originally was some concept art just posted on ArtStation. That concept art inspired this particular weapon, the MPGL-18, that is being created for Fallout 4. And although there is definitely some inspiration from real world things, it of course isn't actually a real world thing. So what's going on here is it seems like it's going to be a weapon system with several different variants. You have a fairly basic looking pistol here. It definitely looks quite unique compared to other pistols you're used to seeing, but it is at the end of the day a pistol. But where things get particularly interesting is in one of the other variants, and it seems like this is going to actually be a pistol with a bottom mounted grenade launcher that kind of functions as a revolver. In the comments of this post, it's actually described how you'll be able to switch between the main gun and the revolver sidearm with a hotkey if you wanted to. But overall, this looks really freaking cool. I love some of those kind of weirder or just not typical things that we see through mods like this. There are a lot of modern weapon mods out there, and although they are very, very good, I feel like stuff like this that's different but plausible, or kind of plausible, is what gets me really excited for new releases. Plus, they all just look really cool. Otherwise though, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for some of the up and coming or work in progress mods I showed you in this video. Again, links to everything down below, including Twitters, Discords when appropriate. There's a lot of cool stuff on the way. Some of this stuff we'll probably see in the next couple of weeks or so, and some of this other stuff might be a bit further out, but honestly, that's okay because it looks pretty cool and I'm excited for it. Over the next couple of weeks, I actually have some interesting content coming for Fallout 4, a few overhaul videos that I think you guys are going to enjoy, and I think there should be a lot of fun stuff in this July, so you can look forward to that if you're getting sick of Cyberpunk or Fallout 76 or some of those other videos. But to end things off, I actually do want to do today's psychology fun fact of the day. I haven't been doing these for quite a while now. I did just finish up my degree a little over a month ago now, but I'm starting to realize, hey, I'm forgetting some stuff, so this is my attempt at making me forget a bit slower. For this one specifically, I wanted to dispel kind of a rumor, myth that you probably have seen from TV shows. The way therapy is shown in TV shows isn't always super representative of how it actually works in real life or typically works. I feel like in a lot of media, you'll see a lot of confrontation or almost gotcha moments by the therapist. This often is to prove a point to the audience or to be reflective for that character so they can grow. While in reality, this happens sometimes, confrontation definitely can be a point in therapy. For most therapies, one of the main goals is developing a warm and just kind of trusting relationship known as the therapeutic relationship. You want to have a trusting bond between the therapist and the patient, as that's what's shown to actually produce some of the best results. Snappy or just kind of quick confrontation is actually a really bad way to achieve that. And just in general, it could really turn off a patient from continuing therapy, and I think that's one of the big reasons it's not used all that often. Another big one that you always see that is almost never used is, how do you feel about that? I feel like in almost every TV show therapy, you hear that very question asked, like, oh, that's interesting, how does that make you feel? In reality, that's also a pretty big no-no. People don't normally ask just open-ended questions like that, and they're typically a lot more directed. For some of the classes I took that were taught by practicing therapists, they were taught specifically to not ask that question, as it would yield less than productive results a lot of the time, as it was simply too vague or too open-ended. So yeah, that's some interesting factoids around therapy and how it actually works. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video as always, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.